lie. Welcome to the Players Lounge. Yeah. When no other moment, man, it can't compare.
All right. Welcome back, you fans. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're tuning in. It is my pleasure, Calvert the Rocket Beck, to be here with Micah Bernard and Zack Moss. Welcome back, gentlemen. How are you feeling today?
Oh, feeling amazing. Feeling great. Zach?
Good, man. Good. Big win last night. Got another W in the column, so always feel good about those type of things.
So everybody knows UC Davis, nobody really expected, or Cal Poly, nobody really expected anything threatening from that side of the ball. But there is a reason why schools schedule these games, because they have an agenda in week 2. Do you feel the Utes got out of this game what they paid the money to have them come and play them for?
I'll say so. Just to, see the well-oiled machine get going and, see if everything's refined and make sure everything's great as we get in the conference. We got one more game to conference, but I think it was worth it. And also to get the young guys in and see what they can do, see if they can help the team later on in the season.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it. Came out of the game with no injuries, no major injuries at that, so that's always a win. I think they threw the ball pretty well to some degree. Wasn't a lot of, super short passes, which we saw a lot of more so in the UCLA game. But I think overall the defense looked really good. A lot of guys played really good. And like I said before, it's all about getting those guys confidence, those young guys confidence, and getting them ready to go. Because like you said, it's only one more game until this conference play, and going up to Wyoming next week. That's not necessarily not worried about that game essentially, but it's also not just a super cakewalk as in the sense of what they just had. I think the penalties was a little bit ugly at the beginning, but sometimes you play down to your opponent a little bit. It'll be nice to see them clean that up going up into Wyoming next week.
Did you guys ever play up in Laramie?
No.
Nope, never.
You never had that pleasure.
No.
Well, I will tell you, you're not missing out on much. It was one of the coldest games I ever played in. It was in November, and it was bone dry. There was no precipitation, no snow, no rain. It was still one of the coldest games I ever played in just because of the wind chill. It is not a cakewalk, Zach. You're absolutely right. It is tough to play up in Laramie up there. Supportive staff. They've got great fans, but it will be a test. They need to continue to spit and polish. I heard a lot of coaches around the country say this is the game where you want to get those 2s, 3s, and 4s more reps so they get comfortable in the system, in a progression. We started dipping into our 2, 3s, and 4s on defense towards or right after halftime. There were some major rotations, and then we saw some big switches on offense. Did you like what you see from the depths of the depth chart?
Yeah, I did. I liked it. Again, I keep saying, it's Cal Poly, so you can't really compare a lot of, good things, but, guys know what they're doing. And that's one thing. If you know what you're doing and you can go out there and do it, you have a chance to play. That's what coaches always told me. So I like that they know what they're doing and they went out there and did it. So that's a great thing to see.
Yeah, I think it was really good just how they, used both quarterbacks, allowing Dampier to get a lot of good work in early with the passing game. Didn't see a ton of scrambling from him, which was nice. Just being able to see him just work on things passing wise, seeing both OCs just get a feel of things, what they want to call, what they don't want to call, and seeing the people they want to use in those positions at the same time as well. That was good because it's a tune-up for everybody, right? You don't pay that money or whatever just for the players only. It's literally a tune-up for each and everybody, and that being the first home game as well. Just the whole operation of how things go down. There's a lot of stuff that goes on before the ball even snaps. So I think it was overall success. Like I said, the main thing was you walked out of there with no major injuries. You got the big win. Everybody was super happy in what it looked like on the field. You got a lot of young players to play on both sides of the ball, and they looked very well, very good. So in that standpoint, you can't be mad. there's nothing glaringly that just jumps out like it did last week with the UCLA game, where it was, maybe we're running the ball a little bit too much with our quarterback or X, Y, and Z. This week it was very vanilla on what they were going to do. I think the passing concepts looked pretty good. I wish we can just figure out a way to get some of those one-on-one balls. Missed a few of those, but that's going to be huge. And would have been nice if I'm being super picky, right? It would have been nice to see a few of those get snagged by our receivers. But we had the versatility in the receiver room this week where 7 different guys caught passes. So when you can see that, that gives you a little hope of growth there. And hopefully next week in Wyoming, those guys can step up to that challenge again and put it on tape again.
And I think that's another reason why they schedule these types of games. You want to explore some of your formations, but you're not going to tip the playbook yet. Micah, you mentioned earlier before we started logging on, you noticed a lot of motion with Smith-Stone in this game. Did you want to talk about that a bit?
Yeah, I mean, just right in the beginning of the game, seeing Smith on offense, of course, is going to see that. But I was just saying how I really don't like how they're putting them in so early in the game and giving the ball, which is great, but doing all this motioning and making them run back and forth, and then being like, okay, go out there on defense now. It's a lot. It's a lot on the body. Sustainable, I don't think so. But, he's an athlete, so he's going to do it. He wants to do it. But I want to see less of the motion. And if you're going to give him the ball, great, throw him a little bubble. But the motioning, fly motion, and all that, I think it's a little too much.
And it can wear on you. Granted, he didn't see much time in the second half, but those plays, motioning back and forth, you're right, it can weigh on you. I was thinking kind of the same thing when you mentioned that, and I'm wondering if the coaches are putting possibilities on film, just like they had Barton line up at tight end in week 1. They're showing all these possibilities because you have these obsessive defensive coordinators who are going to try to plan for every contingency that comes out of every formation and motion. And that takes time away from preparation and practice. Just like the swinging gate extra point. I hated playing teams that would use the swinging gate or the offset, and then they would break the huddle and run over to the center because you had to spend time in practice how to set up on that before they shift. Because if you don't, it's a 2-point conversion. But once you see it on film one time, you have to be ready to defend it and line up because they're waiting for that one team that isn't accountable to it in practice, is non-prepared, and then they just cram it down your throat for 2 points. So it creates some issues on both ends for defense and for the endurance or the tiring of the wide receiver. Our offense looked phenomenal. Anybody want to guess what we rank in the country in third down efficiency right now?
Probably top 3. Somewhere.
Number 4. 2.
We are second.
See?
Now, granted, it's Cal Poly. If you look at the statistical rankings in the country, the team down south is number 1 in offense and in rushing defense with net -4 yards. I only say that because they have played smaller schools the last 2 weeks. Another reason why I hate team rankings this early in the year. It's hard to gauge who's playing what. Whereas on the other side of the country and on different broadcast channels, you have teams like Oklahoma and Michigan beating each other up in the second week of the season, which is what the fans want to see. But you've got Southern Utah, Weber State, all these smaller schools that would love to come in, get some exposure, make some money, and possibly pull off that upset like we watched Michigan lose to Alcorn State decades ago. When they beat them, it was huge. It was like, it's possible. There's a reason why we want to go play these games. We can pull off this upset. Happened to Army last week. So I was glad to see they didn't get complacent, that the defense was responsive. They put pressure on the quarterback. I love the defensive line. The one defensive play, besides the pick 6, the streak continues. 22 years in a row, we have had a pick 6. 22 years. Amazing number. Absolutely amazing number to happen this year, number 22. But the defense, I loved, and I mentioned him last week, Nate Ritchie has become somewhat of the defensive general in that backfield. They caused some shifts in motion to pull him up into the box. And when they slowed the motion behind the line and he set the wide receiver in motion, set as a back, Nate had to sit in the box as a middle linebacker. And I'm sitting there watching, like, I know they're ISOing him in this B gap. Like, it's all downhill. And he came downhill and hit for a loss. It was the most beautiful, responsive play that I got to witness yesterday, outside of the pick 6 and the pick that almost got in again down at the 1 yard line. There was a lot of great defensive read and reacts. The one thing on defense that we haven't been tried on that I want to see more of are man coverage, how tight we stay in our man coverage. We might be a little loose out of our breaks. We might be giving them too much grace in front of us. But until we see someone that puts it in the air a lot more, it'll be hard to determine where that defensive backfield is when they're getting into their coverage. But overall, defense was rolling just like we would expect. Did you see anything on defense, Zach, that really poked out to you?
No, I mean, it was all 11 to the ball each and every time.
And that's a good thing. When you can't specify one, it was a unit contribution.
Yeah, it was great to see that. I mean, you always expect that. Like I said, like even last week, my biggest thing is always, because the defense side is never much turnover when it comes to the coordinators, obviously. And even the staff, like the coaches, the assistant coaches on that side of the ball, really, you've had the same guys for a very long time now doing the same things, preaching the same thing. So when you watch it on film, it's going to look very similar to, for when I played and a little bit before that as well. But, they looked good, man. I think, like you said, Richie pulling up, I saw that play, and he did fill that gap very fast, wasn't timid, didn't allow the guy to come to him and things like that. And that's what you want to see versus a team like this, an inferior opponent. You want to see guys be the aggressor, right? But yeah, the defense looked really good. They look, like they're ready to go. They're ready to go into, conference play and start finally getting against these teams that can, challenge them a little bit more. Like you said, our corners haven't really been challenged, significantly in different coverages, especially man coverage and stuff like that. And that's going to be telling very early because, the big game that we're going to see exactly who we are and what we can do and how far we can go is going to be Texas Tech. Like,
in 2 weeks at home.
Tech is going to be the team that's able to stretch the ball down the field. They're going to be really, really good with passing the ball. And the run game, when teams come in to run the ball versus us, I never really worry about that because our run defense is always really good. But I want to see just how well those guys respond to that. Not to jump too far ahead, but I think that's going to be the first time where we officially, and we probably could see a little bit with Wyoming. Wyoming's not a bad, just a, crap team either. But I think that first time is going to be Tech where we can really see, okay, what does our passing defense look like? And then is our defensive line really as good as they kind of put on versus the UCLA game? Because Tech obviously is going to have linemen that are, more well-rounded for the passing game that they love to do.
And Micah, you've experienced firsthand what it's like to have a defensive line that gives extra pressure quick in a passing situation when you're in coverage versus if you have 3 to 4 seconds with a rollout. And we haven't seen our defense have to keep that pressure on, allowing the defensive backs to get in their position and make those coverages. Right. It's not that easy, one versus the other. And when you line up, you don't know which one you're going to get.
One thing I will say, defense been playing great. But just in the beginning of the game, just blown coverages in the beginning of the game. And, that happened in UCLA. They had one with Mikey Matthews running up the seam, I believe, and Nico missed him. And he had another one later in that game that happened. And then go to Cal Poly. I think it was 2 passes that, could have been completed that weren't. Granted, it probably wouldn't have mattered in this Cal Poly game, but what if that would have happened in the UCLA game? It would have been a different game if he completed that pass for a touchdown. And so,
yes,
it's just different when it happens later in the game when it's already a blowout. But in the beginning of the game when everything's still going on and anything can happen, I think, like you said, they haven't really been tested, but that's something that we need to work on also. And I do want to see more man coverage because I know we're so, known for that. and it'll be great.
I did notice in their man coverage, I know they get their reps in practice. They do their one-on-ones, they do their skelly. Like, you are getting reps in practice. Depending on the coverage you are doing in practice depends on the game plan. But from experience as a player and coaching defensive backs, I see the corners or people dropping in man coverage committing their hips downfield before their cushion is broken. And you guys know, once you get a defender to commit their hips one direction, specifically upfield, your comebacks and your inslants are much easier because they have to readjust to break on those. I'm hoping that we can sew that up, literally sew that up and be in their back pocket, because T-Tac in a couple of weeks is going to test us all over that field. Even if the defensive line is able to get through the line, they've got routes designed for that. Speaking of experience and exposure, there was a bit of a conspiracy on Twitter last night. Micah, you mentioned beautifully why we probably saw Bird take those second-team reps after Dampier versus Wilson coming in. You mentioned it had something to do with redshirt. Now, Deion Sanders specifically said yesterday each quarterback out of 3 was going to get 2 series, and he would let the one that had the role keep rolling. His third-string quarterback probably took the number 1 job, because these are the games you get people reps. We wanted to see that on offense. We saw it on defense. But I loved what you said about Bird getting those snaps, because there's a little going on the outside eligibility-wise that most fans wouldn't recognize.
Yeah, so like I said, you want to get Bird those reps because just like an UCLA game, you know, Dampier's helmet comes off. You try to throw Isaac in there, but wait, you're trying to redshirt Isaac and you're going to waste it on one play, call a timeout. But you know, you don't want to throw him in the game right now when you might possibly need him later in the season, and he just burned 2 games already. And now you have 2 games to play with him as the backup quarterback. If he is a backup quarterback, we don't know who is. But you just want to get Bird in just so you don't have to worry about losing him those couple games. And that's what we're doing, and it's nothing too big about it. I believe Isaac is the backup too. But you don't want to waste it on a game like this when you might need them against Texas Tech, or you might need them against whoever we play later on in the season, and then you don't have them.
Well put. I mean, a lot of people don't realize there is a lot of behind-the-scenes decisions and future planning that goes into those split-second decisions on the sideline. And I come from an era where you would see a kid burn a whole year of eligibility because they were the only one left available on the bench in the last game of the season. And I'm glad that the rules and regulations have changed to be more accommodating for that, because you don't want to see that happen to a young man's career. But being a team sport, someone's got to step up. Yeah. And in that situation, people may have seen, oh, what's going on with number 2? No, it's more of a mental and smart approach, planned approach, than it is a knee-jerk reaction in the moment or just going down a depth chart. They've got a game plan. They're going to implement it, and it seemed to go beautifully yesterday. Yeah. Special teams. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Zach.
No, I was just going to tag on just a little bit for that part. I think it was written on the wall a little bit, if I'm not mistaken, of how they were going to go with Wilson going into the season, right? Obviously, he left or was going to transfer out and was testing that out, and then he ends up coming back, right? And then you end up getting Dampier, right? Mm-hmm. So I think there was never a question of essentially how they was going to use him. And I think progressively thinking, you always have to look at it and think, okay, well, if he's not playing this year, right, redshirt or not redshirt, if he's not playing this year, they obviously want him to be in the system because he is the quarterback of the future, right? They want him to be in the system, learn behind a guy who's already played in this system, learn with the OC, right, and get those mental reps, you know, all that type of stuff within practice and in the film room. So, yeah, I don't know why a lot of people are kind of just like, I mean, I get why, like I understand why, but I don't understand the other side of it. It's like so many question marks. I think it was already kind of written, right? You go get a guy like Ficklin, freshman and stuff like that, or whoever it might have been, who they would have got to come in and kind of just be that filler, you know, kind of be that filler right now. It's kind of like I think about they don't do, obviously red shirt and stuff like that in the NFL, but I look at the Giants quarterback room, right? With Russell Wilson being that guy that who's going to start, but then you still draft Jackson Dart in your first round, right? And then you have Jameis Winston as the third guy, right? Figures like that third quarterback kind of just taking place and letting the young guy continue to learn and get ready and kind of see the game from a certain aspect, because Wilson has a few games under his belt, right? It wasn't the greatest games in America, but he does have experience to where they're not like, okay, we have to push him to get out there and it's almost maybe burn his red shirt, right? It's almost like you don't need to do any of it, because luckily he played a few games as a freshman, as a true freshman. Now this year we got a guy who can do a lot of things for us at quarterback right now with a win-ready team. We got a really good OC. He can sit back and learn behind these guys, kind of like a Alex Smith, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Brady, Favre, kind of like guys just sit and learn for a second once you already have a proven guy, essentially. So that's just my look going in. I'm just like, I get why, because, Wilson is very talented. He was, highly recruited and, obviously transfer portal thing, and it brought him back. It's a lot of weird stuff that probably people don't know about or whatever, and then they look at it just as it's, whatever they just see right there. They don't really think about the other aspects of how coaches kind of see things. And, I think in the long run, essentially next year or whenever he gets his opportunity, he'll be ready to go from this experience right now.
Well put. Very well put. I think overall we're seeing the growth on offense and defense. I mentioned yesterday in our chat thread that things are almost where they need to be at this point in the year. There are still some question marks, like we've mentioned in the last couple of minutes, but overall, very happy with the projection, with the path of projection that we're taking going up to Laramie, which I appreciate it being on the road, a hostile environment, because by week 3, before you go into conference, you want to be able to go into a hostile environment, still check off all the boxes on your game plan, and give people an opportunity to make plays. So I think we're set up for success next week with that. And hopefully we just roll through Laramie without very many issues. And then we come back, and Texas Tech is going to be a great matchup in Rice Eccles in 2 weeks. Absolutely. Micah, I was thinking earlier, the last time I got to talk with you was in the coffee shop at President's Circle 2 years ago at Public Coffee.
Publix, yeah.
I asked you, being from the LBC, what your favorite Snoop song was. You said, I can't repeat that on air. I'm just curious if your favorite Snoop Dogg song has changed since then, or if it's still the one you cannot mention on air.
Let's see. Nah,
you said
I still
you were
can't
listening to Little Baby. You said you were listening to Little Baby, some Drake back then.
Yeah,
it's more of a
those
new
still
guy.
top. Nah, I've been listening to YoungBoy lately. I've been listening to a lot of YoungBoy. That's in my playlist.
You also said that 99.9% of the people that you meet mispronounce your name. Yep. Has that percentage dropped at all? Hopefully, in the last 2 years.
I mean, it probably dropped a couple percentages, but man, I was at the game yesterday and I was on the fan aspect of the side. I was like, let me see how this goes. Never done this before. And the amount of people that still say Micah is crazy. It is crazy. And one of my best friends, his name is Jake. He's like, he's not going to answer that. And he's like, who are you? He's like, I'm his friend. And that's not his name. You're like, correct, kind. And Jake is, I'm not even going to say that. But Jake is, you can kind of see what Jake is. And he's like, you're kind of correct, but at the same time, you're like totally wrong. And I'm like, yeah, like, I don't know, man. It's annoying. It's even more annoying, like when they're drunk and under the influence. It just makes me just want to.
I can understand that. God bless that one substitute teacher years and years ago that happened to pronounce it correctly.
Yeah,
in
that
your
one.
Class. It gave you that hope, that one that said, you know what? Not everybody is going to be phonemically challenged when they say my name.
Right.
So fingers crossed that keeps going up for your benefit. That positive.
I keep telling them, don't read it. Don't read it. Just when you hear it, think about it like that. Just don't read it.
hopefully I could teach more young students that will grow up and not read it and just ask you to get it correctly.
Hey, don't ask
Do
Zach
we
what
want
his
to
name
dip
is.
into? Huh?
I said, don't ask Zach what his name is. First time I
Yeah,
seen it, I was like, how you pronounce this?
Yeah, people have messed up my name. And that's why I've always just, I don't know when it was, but I just was like, you know what? We just going to go Zach just from here on out. But yeah, like my full name is Zack Moss. But if you read it, to me, it kind of makes sense because it's kind of, you cut it up in 3 pieces, you're good, right? But I've had a lot of people butcher it. Like you said, like teachers, man, every year, first day of school, it was hell. Like, because they're going to mess it up. It got to a point where I was jumping the gun and just raising my hand and just saying it before they even got there. They like, what do you want to go by? Something like that. I'm just like, let's just do Zach. Like, let's just go with Zach. And that's why I tell everybody now, anything I do almost like legally, if I need to put my name on it, then I just go with Zach. But like, yeah, it's hard because most people don't even know that's my real name. But yeah, no, I get what he's saying because with his name, like I play with a guy and his name was Micah, right? Like we call him Micah Hyde, right? So it was like, I can see where people can go wrong with it, but it's like, it's the part of like, you've heard this dude's name many a times, I'm sure. Like by now you should, give it a little bit.
It's not easy to ignore, and when it happens frequently, I will say in the last 10 years, people at first glance read my name Calbert. In their mind, they hear Colbert because it's been on TV with Stephen Colbert. So I've been called Colbert in the last 10 minutes, a lot more than I would have ever anticipated. And I just tell them, might want to look again. Or if it's sloppy handwriting, who knows? From there, who knows?
Yeah.
So we've got Laramie next week. We'll get into that in the 48-hour rule coming up later this week. But there was some special events that happened yesterday. Zach, you were down on the field. We were competing with who could take the better picture of you from the sideline in our chat group. But Coach
You should have
McBride.
me in there. I was ready to take a photo. I was looking at Zach. I'm like, man, I can get a good photo of Zach right now. Man.
Coach McBride, Mac is my homeboy, was inducted into the Ring of Honor yesterday. Did you guys ever have the opportunity to get to speak with him or get to know him on campus and in the locker room?
Yeah, I've talked to him many times. He's a great dude. And believe it or not, he said my name right. So, but no, yeah, we talked many times. I went to one of his events he had, and it was a great event. And, he just sat down. We all talked, and, he's a great guy. I wish I would have had him as a coach. But, Coach Witt is a good second place. I'm just playing. But, no, Coach Mack, he's a great guy.
Yeah. No, first time I met Coach Mack, I went to one of his events. I think it was a golfing event that he was doing. And maybe had to be maybe sophomore, maybe freshman year, one of those two. And then year after that, he continuously came around, and I continued to learn more about who he was and what he had done and the impact that he's had on so many people across this state and even others. And I got to see him last night as well at the game. And I'm walking in, and I see him, and we talked for about 5 minutes. But the biggest thing about Coach Mack, I think a lot of the guys who play for him, right, is his care factor. Like, he cares more about you than you probably would know. And even being up in age, his memory is so damn good still. Like, I saw him a few weeks ago when this alumni thing that was happening, and we were having some food and conversations or whatever. I saw him there, and we talked for a little bit, and then I saw him at the game. And then the first thing he asked me was, "How's your neck?" Right? He's like, "How's your neck doing?" And then he was like, "I got this hyperbaric people that I want you to go see." Right? So it was just like, before anything else, this being his day, right? This being his moment and all these different things. And, his main thing was still a player that I hadn't played for him, but like just that care factor of wearing that UN helmet and him knowing everything about you and things like that. So it's like those things you can't beat, and that's why McBride probably said, playing for, if you have opportunity to play for a guy like that, man, that means the world, because a lot of coaches aren't able to be personable with you, especially when you cross different race barriers. They're not able to do that a lot. And everybody I talk to, if it's, white person, Polynesian person, African American, whatever it may be, he was always able to cross that barrier with them and make them feel seen as who they were. And you're talking about also in times that were totally different from the times right now that he was having to do that. So it was awesome to be down there to watch his name go up there. And it was a really cool moment. And, I'm happy to see, like I said last week, that the school is doing stuff like this and giving guys their flowers while they're still alive, and things of that nature. So it was really awesome to see that for sure.
The outreach of his McBride Foundation within the community has been amazing, specifically recently. I mean, you're talking about a foundation that has funded and built an outdoor track facility for Rose Park area. You're talking about somebody who promotes and supports and finances education and educator recognition. He has donated to multiple schools in the Murray School District, the Salt Lake School District, and the Granite School District so that they can continue their after-school programs for kids in low socioeconomic areas. He is attentive to family and community. You're talking about a coach that developed and cemented the poly pipeline from the islands. Like you said, Zach, he had to go to Hawaii and convince moms and dads, let me take your son for 4 years, multiple time zones away, and I will take care of them. And every single family that he would walk out of felt and believed that that was true. And it was. He took care. Now, family on three, the next man up, all of the mottos that we have utilized as a Ute program started with his foundation from day one. That was his thing. He was told when he started coaching, you have 2 jobs: beat the team down south and win as many other games as you can. That was the expectation on his resume. That's where the program was. This valley was blue and had been forever until McBride's intervention. And in 94, when we won, and it was poetic justice that Jefferson was getting inducted last night as well, because he was the last player to win a bowl game and a conference championship in the 60s. Fast forward to 1994, 30 years after that Liberty Bowl game that Jefferson won, McBride brings home the Freedom Bowl in 94. This valley turns red after beating the Y for the second year in a row and winning the bowl game against Arizona. This valley turned red and is not turned back to my enjoyment. 1995, 30 years ago now, we win our first conference championship that we had in 30 years. I mean, that was in McBride's watch. You've got 95 WAC champions right there. This picture right here is with Coach Fred Whittingham, who was the defensive coordinator when Kyle joined as D-line coach. And that family is what's forged what we call Utah football today. Everybody that I spoke with last night said it's been overdue. We are glad it's happened. And there is no better person to label a cornerstone for what Utah football is, what we all 3 experience, and what we want to see continue moving forward. So I was glad. Did you gentlemen know Coach McBride was the first college coach to desegregate team buses?
No.
There you have it.
Wow.
When he was at Long Beach State, and he will tell you that story when they were getting on the buses, and he wanted play like offense, defense, and they were like, no, that's not how we do it. And McBride said, it's not how we do it anymore. And the players that I've talked to that experienced that were like, this is different.
Yeah.
And that's been Mac. And we can't mention McBride, Coach McBride, without his cuter and better half, I'll dare say, Vicky. Them as a family encapsulate what family is. And they extended it to hundreds of players, thousands of people in the community. And it has been an absolute pleasure to be associated, to be a part of, and to continue to sing their praises. That is what Utah football is all about in the end. And I'm glad that it has been continuing and has got a lot of momentum moving forward. I look at what Coach Whittingham has done. Greatest coach in Utah history, if you go by the books, but he came from somewhere, and that's Coach Mack and his dad, Papa Whittingham. All his coaching tree is humongous. His roots through players and coaches is vast, absolutely vast. And it's been fun to see the ripples of just his procedures and approach spread throughout college football. And people are still not afraid to accredit him and Vicky for that. So it was a great thing to witness. It was a great honor to be a part of. I'm still a little hoarse because I was yelling in my Mafu hat, like, kudos to him. Kudos to him. And I had a chance to speak with him after the game. And it was like, we never skipped a beat. Yeah. Hi, Cal. And how are the boys? How's it? And then it was like, all right, I'll let you get on. And then it was that's Mac. That's absolute Mac. It was an absolute deserving moment. And it was fun to see his name up there. It was good. Okay. Before we go, one last thing. Two things, one on offense, one on defense, you want to see checked off next week in Laramie?
I want to see it's confusing for me a little bit with the offense. I want to see them run the ball more, but I feel like they run the ball a lot, but they use everybody. And me and Zach was talking about this, taking food off our plates as running backs. And I feel like the running backs getting food taken off their plate because everybody touching the ball in the backfield. And, I think they combined, Nakari and Wayshawn had 13 carries combined against Cal Poly. I don't know. But I want to see the run game get more in like a traditional run, not these fly sweeps and stuff like that. I need to see the traditional run more on the offensive side. And then defensively, I want to see this man coverage get going.
You're looking for that downhill attack in the run game where it's just like, you know what, we're lining up, we're not motioning, try and stop us. I like that. Zach, how about you?
Yeah, offensively, I just want to see the ball deep, man. I think that's the biggest thing for me. I'm probably going to keep saying that until I see it for 2 weeks in a row. I just want to see that ball travel 30, 40 yards in the air and then somebody coming down with it, right? I know we can get, run after the catch, yards after the catch, all these different things. The run game, to your point, it is good, but it's not traditional. It's more, feels like a lot more analytic-y. Like it feels very efficient, which it is. It's a very efficient run game. Like you can get a guy that gets 5-6 carries and get 50, 60 yards. Mm-hmm. It's pretty damn good. Right, but it's not traditional where you're just known to be like, okay, this guy is going to get minimum on a bad day, 15 carries, right? And if you're combining two guys for 13, and you're talking about, for backs especially, because you got to think about it in a totally different light. It's like, bro, all of these carries matter. Like I don't care if it's Cal Poly or whoever we play. Like every single one of my carries matter for me to go where I want to go, right? So 13 carries combined, and and I'm just like, but anyways, like I think it is still efficient though. I think that's just how the offense is, built. Everything is around Dampier's legs, right? Right now, those guys, and we talked about this before in the 48-hour pod, like there's no guy who's, the guy yet back there, which then allows the OC to do what he's doing and just putting everybody in there and do whatever they want to do, right? In years past, you've always had a guy essentially that you knew, okay, hey, this is done. Right now, the guy is your quarterback, and that guy can also be 1,000-yard back, right? Mm-hmm. So that changes a lot of stuff for them. Still, as a back, you're like, but overall as offense, it does allow them to be super efficient and super versatile in their attacks. But for me, I want to see that ball go deep a lot more. I want to see those one-on-one catches because we get into one-on-one opportunities. Like, we're getting them. So now it's just who can we count on to make those catches consistently when I know it's 1st and 10 and we want to take a chunk play, and we called a few chunk plays yesterday. When I can see those chunk plays get called, I can see a guard pull. It's a 7-man pro. I need to see a completion when we got 7-man protection. Like, that has to be a completion. It can't be, us flexing our O-line again and we back there for 10 seconds. I love that part, but can we get this ball out of our hands and get down this field, right? Because that offense has a chance to be one of the best, most explosive offenses in college football, because they don't need a lot to they don't need 10, 15 play drives. They can do it very fast. So I want to see that offensively. And then obviously defensively, I want to see the D-line get after it. This game was, Cal Poly played also a style of ball where it was kind of like, let's just kind of hurry up and get out of here and get our check. But I want to see the D-line get after it, and I want to see them really get after that quarterback. I want to see Coach Scally, call up some blitzes, which will be really nice, because that'd be a really good tune-up versus a pretty, even team to some degree, and get ready for this conference play.
So let me get this straight. What I'm hearing the all-time leading rusher in school history say is you want to see a workhorse. Is that what you're saying? You want to see a workhorse. You want to see somebody in that backfield that's getting 15 carries a game guaranteed.
I do, but I don't think with Dampier they are going to be able to do it, because that's I think Dampier is your workhorse. He is your workhorse, right? We've never had essentially your workhorse be the quarterback. Right, it's kind of like, obviously not comparing him to a Lamar Jackson, but before Derrick Henry got there, right? Now imagine if you had a workhorse like with Dampier right now and a workhorse back. Right now they don't have that. No one has essentially moved that needle and be like, hey, coach, it's going to be either me or it's going to be this guy, right? It's kind of like Lamar. You can kind of plug and play the backs essentially however you kind of wanted to years before they got Derrick Henry, and it all just worked, right? Kind of like with Jalen Hurts, with Miles Sanders one year, and then you got Swift the next year, right? Not essentially your typical workhorse backs, still guys you could rotate in, but when you mesh them with that super workhorse back like Henry or Saquon with these running style quarterbacks, it takes your offense to a whole nother level. Unfortunately, for the backs, great for our team, but unfortunately for the backs, they are not the workhorse yet, right? I think when you get in there with a guy, moving forward, and those guys are young, which is a good thing. So, however things look moving forward, you get in there with a guy maybe who's, not able to go run for 1,000. You get a little bit more carries and things like that. But I think they have the ability, which is great. Like I said, it allows them to be efficient, which they have done, right? We will be asking a lot more questions in my head if it's 6 carries for 30 yards, right? Because that's, to me, it's not as efficient as it could be when you're playing with a guy like that. Instead, they're around 60 for 50, 60 for 60 yards, which is really good in my eyes, because, okay, that's just telling me they can play. They know what they're doing. The O-line is doing their job. They just need an uptick in opportunity. So when those games come, because there are going to be games where Dampier is going to be X'd out to some degree for minutes and times and hours of the game, and you're going to lean on these guys, right? I think they have the ability to do it, which is why I'm not really worried about the run game and things like that nature. That's why I really want to see that passing game. I want to see that ball go deep, because that helps everybody. That opens up that box. You can't load up that box. You can't have that post safety sitting at 15 yards, something like that. Like, bro, you got to get up out of here, right? Or, things of that nature. So it opened up a lot of different things. That's why I'm just harping on, okay, I need to see this ball go deep, because you got the skill within line, quarterback, and the backs. Somebody now just needs to be that guy receiver-wise that allows this offense to flourish and be the true explosive offense that they really can be.
It's the point of the year. I mean, it's your 2-game non-conference. Do you tip the playbook? Do you tip to your conference opponents? Who would be Texas Tech? Texas Tech is watching all of this film intensely, trying to get a leg up. before they come into Rice Eccles in 2 weeks. So I appreciate what you guys are saying. I totally agree. I just know Whittingham and his approach to the beginning of the year is we're not going to tip our hand too much. It makes me wonder if these deep balls are coming. I would love to see more 50-50 balls. Yeah. I would love to see those flies, those fades down the field, stretching the zones, making the safety flip. I would love to see those competitive high balls at the point. I would like to see yards after catch. I would like to see yak out of the backfield too, yards after contact. It just seems very downhill and vanilla, and they get some explosive plays when they can, and we had more explosive plays than the week prior. Yeah. But I think that the opportunity is there for even more explosive plays. And I'm going to assume that it's not a lack of ability or circumstance, but that they are keeping them on a short leash. And next week they'll release a little bit more, and then in 2 weeks, dogs are on the loop.
Everything is gone.
And it's going to be take it how you can get it. I mean, chew it how you can, but we're going to cram this down your throat on both sides of the ball. And
I have a question. When Jonathan Hall got the interception and ended up on the 1 yard line, how do we score? Because I didn't see it. I was in the bathroom. I didn't see it. That's my question. How do we score?
It was a quick dive, wasn't it?
Yeah, Roger scored it. Yeah.
So, all right, now that goes to my question of the goal line offense. Zach, how do you like the goal line offense?
To me, I think he might have just being gun. Honestly, like just sit and gun. They ran a dive play, and I was like, oh, we don't want to see that. I don't want to see that because, like, you got a super dynamic quarterback. Like, it's no point. Like when we ran offense in Buffalo with Josh, and it was goal line offense, bro. We were never under center. Like maybe for like the first couple games, like 3 games, and then everybody was like, you know what? Why are we doing that? Like, and then it became, we're not doing that anymore. We're just going to go gun, and then we're just going to stretch the field. Like, we'll go out there and throw the ball twice on the 1 yard line, like legitimately, right? And then we would run, motions to the tight end, get them out, stretched out, get bubble routes in, and if all things go hell, Josh, figure it out, get us an end zone, right? So, I think it's nice to have that opportunity to be like, all right, let me get on the center and just turn around, give this ball off, right? And with a team like this, that works perfectly fine. There's no reason to get all, cute and, get into gun. And now let's do a little fly motion and throw it to them in the flash or return motion, things that you see like the Chiefs kind of get to doing sometimes. So I'm cool with it this week, but I think overall, our best style of red zone offense is going to be, at least goal line offense, would be Dampier, even Nate Johnson. I seen they had a play in there for him to get around the edge with some pullers and stuff like that, which is good. They have a variety of different ways they can do it. The main thing is going to be, dive plays with the running back, inside zone runs, right up the A gaps and stuff like that, and then pulling it with the quarterback and then giving him somebody to throw the ball to if things are covered a little bit. So I think those are the best ways overall when you have this style of dynamic type of quarterback.
I think our goal line offense changes drastically as we get closer to Tech, not tipping the hand, and I think our blitz package increases greatly too this coming week and especially in 2 weeks. We've been played very vanilla, but we've managed to keep them on their heels on both sides of the ball just from our film, and that's been beneficial to keep people guessing and make them chase instead of predict and get there before us. Anything else you gentlemen would like to add before we start preparing for Laramie?
No, I'm good.
Nope, it's going to be a good week, man. Hopefully everything that we are hoping to see, we can see in some flashes, and we get another big win.
So Bloody Mondays tomorrow, is it going to be intense or do the coaches continue to just build up on it?
Oh, we don't have no Bloody Monday. Well, my experience is Bloody Monday is no Bloody Monday, but Bloody Tuesday?
Tuesday's when you get it?
Tuesday's when you get it now. But I think tomorrow's just a regroup day where they go in, watch the film, get some conditioning in, and Tuesday to get back to work and go at it. And because it's getting to that time,
when the coaches start yelling and spitting at the same time. That's what practice is turning into. We ain't got that time, gentlemen. You need to get in that gap.
When you see Scally yelling, yeah. High pitched.
There's always those high-pitched squealers when they get excited. And then there's those ones
you
that
have
just
Scally,
like dogs.
And then you have Coach Shaw, who's just deep voice scream. It's two opposite ends of the spectrum there.
And it's weird to be yelled at and then him finish up with, love you, man.
Love you, son.
Love you, man. Zach, thank you again for joining us. Micah, thank you again. I look forward to seeing you guys again. Zach, thank you for turning around and waving when I was telling you how much we love you from the sideline. My kids were like, he heard you. I was like, yeah. And then when you turn back around and pointed, he's like, he knows it's you. I said, yeah, we all love Zach. We all love Zach. But have a great weekend or a great week, gentlemen. Let's get on this horse, pony up, and ride into Laramie. I will say this. The last time we played in Laramie in 95, it was an important game, second to last before we played the Y. And McBride gave one of his most memorable pregame speeches in Laramie. And it was so memorable because every single player left the conference room in the hotel to get on the bus laughing in tears. Not because he was trying to be funny, but because he got so excited and yelling that he couldn't really connect the motivating things that he was trying to tell us. And he would give us examples, which was McBride's MO. And the last thing he yelled at us was, I was sitting next to Danny Pulsifer, our kicker, and he yelled, let's get on the bus like a bunch of crazed dogs chasing an apple. And we got up, we yelled, we walked to the bus, and as soon as we left the conference door, we all said, how do we chase apples? Is it rolling down the street? Is someone throwing it? Like, we don't get it. We waited until after the game to ask him what he meant. Yeah. And, of course, he said, I got time to think about that. We got the Cougars next week. He was already thinking about next week. So throughout the years, I've been asking him, so did you ever come to terms with chasing the crazed dog chasing this apple? Apparently, it's legendary. It's avoiding definition. So that just shows the intensity and the fun that McBride would end up having in the locker room, even before we get on the bus.
Crazy.
Many other mottos and sayings he would say while he's yelling with his broken finger for playing middle linebacker. And if he's ever rubbed you on the head to tell you, good job, it's that finger that you feel, and it's not pleasant. So if he comes up from behind and puts his hand on your shoulder, it's him because it feels like acupressure. So kudos to McBride. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining, and have a great week. Fans, we look forward to the production in Laramie. And as always, go Utes.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much to everybody for listening today. Please like and subscribe and stay tuned for more UteNation podcasts and coverage.
Welcome to the players' lounge. Yeah. When all the moment, man, it can't compare. Due to the obvious, people look at me and then they envious.